Okay, no one fell so far. Alex, you got this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Speak too soon?
Yeah. Okay, so how was everyone doing? The food was great. Yeah, there we go. This is how you win every crowd. You're like, food, and they're like, coffee, yes. Okay, so we're gonna be talking about frameworks, but in a way of like, let's all be nice to each other, which I feel like it's important. We're getting you out of this room right now. Okay, so the first thing that I think we should do is that we should all introduce ourselves. So let's start over there with Zach.
Hi, I'm Zach Leatherman. I work on 11D, and I'm full-time sponsored as a Netlify employee. So.
Woo! But what do you do on your spare time, though?
In my spare time, I used to do a lot of open source in my spare time.
No.
Not so much anymore. Now
No
that
code.
I
What do you
get to
do?
it at my day job. I don't know. What do I do? I have 2 kids. What else do you?
That's valid.
I mean,
okay.
got to be a parent, right?
Woo!
Hello, everybody. I'm Janiuk. I'm on the Angular framework team at Google. Yeah, and I guess in my free time, you saw the video. I have an R2D2 in my house.
Woo, I don't think anyone's gonna beat that one, but we can continue. No pressure.
Ooh, what's the coolest thing I have in my house? All right, I'll come back to that. My name's Fred. I work on the Astro project. Astro? Any Astro fans? Yeah!
We love you.
One boo in the back. That's awesome. You're cool. Coolest thing I have in my house. Life-size Matthew McConaughey.
But
No,
should
no
I ask
story.
why?
No,
No?
you should
Okay.
not. You should not.
valid. Okay, Ryan.
You got me stumped here.
You don't have to say what you do on your spare time.
Oh, no, I do hiking, a lot of hiking.
Oh, that's cool. See, I don't do any hiking. I don't do any exercise. Like there was when I got my vaccine, they were like, you couldn't do exercise for 2 days, and I was like, I don't do any. It's fine. German humor. It's not funny.
But yeah, I'm Ryan Carniato, creator of SolidJS, and engineer on open source at Netlify.
Alex?
Yes, I'm Alex, co-founder of Nuxt, with my brother, which is actually on the picture. That's not me. And in my spare time, I'm watching Golden State Warriors.
Nice. Okay, cool. Okay, we got everyone introduced. So, first question that I have for y'all. I feel like I should be in the middle, but sure. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Like in the last couple of years, like in the last 2 years or something, we've seen a resurgence in the creation of frameworks, which was something that happened like 6 years ago, but then it kind of stopped, right? And then in the last 2 years, we've seen more and more frameworks and meta frameworks come along. Do you have any idea why this is a thing? And who wants the talking stick first?
That's a really solid question.
Oh.
I was expecting that one.
Okay, you start, Ryan. You got the talking stick.
All right. It's interesting because from my perspective, framework creation is always happening. I think the difference now is the interest in people wanting to listen or see different frameworks. I spent a lot of time looking at different frameworks, and surprisingly not for the last 5 years, 6 years, there have been a lot of frameworks, they just haven't caught on. So I think that we could look into why that's the case. Maybe people are looking for change. Maybe it's a fashion thing. Maybe it's different needs. Maybe the whole JavaScript ecosystem's moved on. I think that's an interesting question. But at least from my perspective, over this whole time, the creation has been going on. It's just a matter of gaining traction.
Talking stick.
I think there's a couple things. One is that it's natural that things change over time. I think jQuery had its time, its decade.
And jQuery still is on its time.
True. Yeah, it's probably more useful than everything else we've built. More used, I should say, not more useful.
Can you toggle an animation though with 11T? You can't.
Hey.
I don't know why you're throwing Zach under the bus in my question.
Oh, sorry.
I think things have their time. I think jQuery, React, I think it's just natural. There's never been a forever framework in the web space. I think as devices change, as networks change, as the types of things we do on the web changes, I think it's natural that the things we used to build those things would change. So I think it's natural.
Oh, it's my turn now? I would agree with that. I think it is the natural evolution of the whole ecosystem of the web. Like the web has changed a lot over the last several decades, and it moves really fast, and now people's needs have changed. I think that's why a lot of people are thinking about performance now, because the frameworks before came out of the needs that they had at the time, and now those needs have changed. So I think it's just perfectly normal.
Yeah, I think the call out to performance is a great one. I feel like that Google's real focus on SEO and the core web vitals have really changed a lot of the discussions around what folks want their frameworks to do. And I think that sort of single page applications for a long time were kind of the go-to model. And I think a lot of frameworks are coming around to serve other needs in the same space and maybe compete with those. And it's a big tent, right? We have a bunch of different use cases, a bunch of different types of sites that folks are building. And yeah, I think we can have multiple frameworks that can serve those different use cases nicely.
How are you going to hand the, you have to like walk it out.
There's always frameworks, so it's not only the last 2 years. I mean, before that, we got JKey, Lexo, and other frameworks. But we got new tools. That's maybe why everyone tried to create their own framework, because we get more capabilities. But I think it will never end. We still have new tools with the open source, and it will continue, and I hope so.
I mean, that's the idea of the web, right? Just
Yeah.
You keep doing new things. There's also been a shift, at least in my understanding, from, for example, in the case of this panel, Jessica's actually like the one that's different, as in terms of like Angular is built by Google, at Google. Well, there seems to be a shift to people actually building them as like an open source tool, and then like either getting VC money, for example, Nuxt did that, or like just working for a company like Ryan here. What do you think created this shift that happened? Does anyone have any, do you want to start? Do you want to get the?
No.
No? No?
I mean, I
think,
can start if you want.
Yeah, we can start.
I think there is like a whole feeling of trust that has changed. I think people have, in the past, looked to these big sponsored like corporations that sponsor frameworks as a source of stability. And I think on the Angular side, people still kind of view it that way, but I think in other cases, the trust has changed a bit as to whether people want to support company X or company Y. And I think a lot of people are going to these more individually produced for reasons like that, regardless of whether those reasons are valid or not. So I think that plays into it a bit.
I'd also just add that I think user expectations have never been higher. Like, I remember from the early Node.js days, like, you just had a repo and a README, and that was it. Like, and sometimes you'd have like a cool hand-drawn, like there was one person, I can't remember their name, they would draw like colored pencil drawings for everyone's READMEs. It was just a wild time. And now it's like you need a homepage, you need like a Twitter presence, you need cool tutorials and cool stack blitzes, and it's a lot. And I think user expectations have risen to the point where you need at least someone working full-time on it, like Solid and 11D. I think that's a bare minimum, and even more sometimes that's what people expect. So.
Yeah, it is a lot. Because you start
Traumatized, right? It's pretty okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, you start. Sometimes these things start with an idea, right? Sometimes you just like maybe you could do something a certain way, and then someone else shares that idea, and that's like the spirit of open source, and you see it grow. But that might be where it starts, but that's not where it ends, right? Because then next you know, people are like, oh, can I trust this with with our company, with our projects? Something like there's a whole amount of expectation there, right? Like documentation. Documentation is so important, and the amount of effort, like the more work goes into our documentation than goes into like building the framework, like so much more work, So in terms of contribution, like it's a wide scale. At a certain point, actually, I was pretty happy to come on with Netlify because it wasn't actually for like so I could go code all day. It was actually because I needed to manage stuff. Like it's like being an engineering manager in like any other kind of field. So yeah, it's a lot, but I think that's what lets us have different alternatives and lets us come together to build something really cool.
Okay.
Did you have time?
Yeah. I get enough time. It's difficult to answer because when we start with my brother, the project was only an open source project. We just try to solve a real use case. And then we got a core team with core contributors. And then we create the company because we get a huge demand from outside for the same use case from other companies. And then the business started to develop at the same time as the open source project became popular because more and more developers were using it. So we solved more and more bugs. And that's how we get founded at the end, because it was business growing at the same time as the open source was growing. But we didn't create an open source project to create a business. It just happened because we are solving a real problem. So I believe if you trust in your project, things are going to happen by themselves, but don't look after a business solution and try to build it as an open source just for doing marketing side.
Yeah, I agree. I would say that in the last year or something, there's been way less, as someone who's been on Twitter for a while, unfortunately. As someone who's been on Twitter for a while, there's been a lot of drama over the years. And I feel like it weirdly has subsidized. I don't think that's the word I'm looking for.
Subsided?
Thank you.
Subsidized.
Subsidized. Yeah. We have all subsidized.
Government subsidies for Twitter drama.
Subsidized.
English is not my mother tongue. Are you making fun of my English?
No, oh my God.
It has, what did you say, Jessica?
Subsided.
It has subsided a lot in the last year or something. There's been more co-tweeting and people gaining each other's ideas, but actually owning it. And what do you think created this shift? And I think all of the people that are here are part of this shift, right? Are part of the new generation of people that have been doing this like this. So it's why are you so nice? What do you think created this kind of shift around it of more being we're all in this together kind of thing?
I mean, in my opinion, we're all ready for the next thing. We are kind of over what is currently available, and we want to move on to the next thing. And I think anything that helps move the web forward, and whatever framework that might be, I think that a lot of people are sort of craving the next thing.
That's actually, I think, a really good point of the thing is that there's been, I think it has subsidized the amount of people who create, are you making fun of my English? Of people who are oh no, the thing I created is the best thing ever. I think that's kind of where I'm trying to go at. There's been way less of that, right? There's more people looking outward and trying to make their thing better with other things.
Yeah, I think we all advocate. I mean, we're all up here on this panel. We all like to talk about the things we build. I think there's also just a lot less baggage at this early stage where Ryan has amazing ideas about routing that I'm constantly picking his brain / trying to steal things from. Very smart, and I
but
know I
that's a
can
good
learn
thing
from
now,
him.
exactly.
Yeah, Zach, I know Zach's 11 has been around for so long, much longer than anything I've ever built. I feel like everyone up here I have things to learn from. And I don't know, that energy is just really fun. It reminds me of early times and other technologies that I've been involved with that have then since gone on. I think the drama kind of comes later, naturally, as people start to dig their heels in. And
so what you're saying is that it's coming, it just hasn't started.
oh yeah, we'll never be up on the stage again. We will all fight to the death in 5 years, big battle royale. No, I think I have hope that that's not the case, but it's just nice being, I don't know, I don't think there's as much baggage, and I think we're able to explore these ideas, and I don't think any of us can say that we definitively know what the future will hold, and I think we all have that humility, I guess.
I personally would love to see a panel of 20 people, 20 different framework authors up here next time. I don't think it needs to be just 5 or 6 or even 8. I mean, I feel like if anybody wants to make a framework, you should do it. Because you have ideas, and those ideas are valid, and I'm sure they can help us move the web forward, and we'll all build off of those ideas together. So.
I would say that every framework that exists has taken good things from other frameworks. So Angular certainly has done this, we took from Knockout, and we've learned from other frameworks as well. We know that we've all learned from each other. And I think, especially on the Angular team side, we have spent a bunch of time looking at all the other frameworks. We actually had a little 2-day summit where we built apps in other frameworks so we could understand the pros and cons of each of them. And so we can start looking at what everybody else is doing best, and we can incorporate ourselves. We think it's wonderful that these frameworks exist because we get to see different ideas and different approaches to solutions that we all have, and we can take as well from the things that we see. So we've also been trying to invite other frameworks to come and chat with us. So like Ryan's come and had conversations with us about Solid, and we don't think of it as like a one-way conversation where we're trying to like take everything we can from Ryan. We
feel like that was directed at me.
Yeah, we just want to foster these great relationships because we think every framework is valid and every framework has lots of pros and cons, just like Angular does. And we all want to improve and we want to help each other grow. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard that story about the kind of dev summit happening at Google, I was so excited because it shows that even like a large company who's got whole team working on this stuff is still looking outward, looking for ways to improve, build on, continue to progress. And I think like that's part of the sign right now. We've been trying to figure out what the catalyst is. As I said, there's many, but looking at how everybody is kind of like getting this sense of maybe change and innovation again, it's so empowering. And yes, I mean, stealing from all frameworks, I do that like every day. I have a stream, so I invite you on. If you get an invite from me on my stream, you will know this. I will probably end up taking some of your ideas. And it's been great being able to share these things with everyone at the same time, because like that's how we move forward, and that's how we get to that next stage.
Yeah. So one last question that I have is about performance. So in the beginning, when like there were more JavaScript, when JavaScript frameworks started, there was no concern about performance. Let's be honest. Like there was none. Like, why are you laughing? Don't laugh. Like, and this is, I think, shifted a lot in the last couple of years. Mostly in the last like 2 years, I would say. What was kind of the catalyst to this? Was it just like talking to people? This sounds like a random thing, but sometimes just like talking to people who don't have very good internet is like literally the only thing you need. And like, do you think like we're trying to like a little bit overcorrect with like just having no JavaScript at all? It's like a twofold question.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I want to go first on this one.
You can just please.
Okay.
Yeah. The stick.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I think on performance is an interesting one because we've looked at performance over time. We just changed what the metrics were, what we cared about, right? Like when we first moved off kind of like the multi-page back-end Rails kind of thing onto the front-end thing, we spent all our time like timing like how fast we could render stuff in the DOM, like in the client, like when you're in the browser, how many elements can you spam on a page? And there were performance comparisons back then. We used to do like little animations with circles and things. And then next thing we knew, we were doing stock tickers that were splattering the page as a way of showing that the virtual DOM was faster than the DOM. Maybe not exactly true, but it was effective. I think what's happened is we were building apps, and it was good. And what's happened is the whole rest of the industry kind of caught up. At a certain point, we're like, we want to use these frameworks for more than just apps. So then it spreads out a little bit further. And then it got to the point now where things that might have not been classically done with a front-end framework are now being done, like things that may be more static, blog sites, e-commerce, everything. Yes. And like once you change the game there, then like you start having to look at new types of performance and new types of metrics. And I know it's a little bit because I worked at eBay for a bit on the Marco team, but like essentially like. They were always concerned with that kind of performance because that was their business. And I think this is just natural now that we're seeing these frameworks kind of getting that wider scope, having to ask these different questions. And yes, as mentioned earlier by Zach, Google's fully, with their Web Vitals and their Lighthouse scoring and whatnot, is fully backing that narrative. So there's a lot of incentive now if you want to do e-commerce or kind of spread out into different kind of marketing sites and whatnot. This kind of performance also matters.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that we didn't care about performance. I just think we didn't realize how bad it was getting.
True.
I don't think there's ever been as big a delta between all of us in this room, what we develop on, and what our average user is using. Like, I have an iPhone. My average user on my website probably does not. And so that delta between like, I can like develop it looks fast, great, I ship it, I like close my laptop, I go home, it's great. And then like all of my users are suffering because it's actually taking 10 plus seconds to load on their phone, on their network, whatever that looks like. So yeah, again, Google I think has done a great job of connecting that user experience into something the developer sees, like Lighthouse scores or web.dev, whatever that looks like making that feeling real, and then connecting it to SEO makes it like actually real to not just developers, but the business people. Like everyone sees now that performance is important. We can't ignore it anymore. So yeah, Google I think did a great job pushing that forward.
Thank you. I take
personally.
zero responsibility for
You
that.
did it all by yourself,
Yes,
basically.
yes,
Entirely.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like performance is a big one. I feel like a lot of frameworks historically have really tried to be a silver bullet and solve all the use cases simultaneously, and performance suffered for that reason. And so I think a lot of the folks on this stage are trying to solve those use cases in a more laser precise way or in maybe a smaller way, and you can get good performance benefit out of doing it that way.
I think we're also starting to see more specialized cases where people will choose a framework because of their performance needs, which wasn't the case before. People would pick a framework because so-and-so used it in the past and liked it. And now we're going, we need more performance. Maybe we need to take a look at which frameworks do performance to meet this particular need, and maybe we need to use that one. I think that's just a symptom of the natural changing needs of the environment, the changing world of the web.
Yeah. And I think performance in web framework is super important, but it also comes with the platforms. For example, I will just talk about Nuxt, and we have rewritten all the framework just because platforms evolve, and especially with Netlify and edge functions. So we have to create this edge-side rendering and adapt our framework to new platform capabilities. So it's always be just a lot of conversation in the framework regarding performance, but I think that's not the only point. Platform is super important, other tools also, and I think it's part of the evolution.
Yeah. Would you say that? Well, a lot of what y'all were saying was that people started using frameworks for everything. Do you think it was kind of like a WordPress syndrome of WordPress was created for this one thing, right? And then it started getting used on everything, and then it started getting hate for being slow, even though it wasn't its fault. I don't know why WordPress is a he now. Even though it wasn't its fault, but it's it started getting hate because it started getting used for things that it was never supposed to be used. And I think that can happen to anything. I do think that also happened to a bunch of frameworks. And people are like, why is this slow? You're not supposed to be using it for this, though.
I mean, you're describing Astro in a nutshell. It's great for the use case that we care about, and there's certain use cases we are explicitly that's not what we're for. Go use any other framework.
I do think that the WordPress syndrome kind of created people being like, no, you shouldn't use it for this.
Yeah.
That's a no-no. Because you can't come back to me and be like, well, it's slow now or it doesn't work. No, you can't do it.
It is interesting, though, and this is something I debate personally with myself all the time, is that there's a couple of views, right? The old site versus app thing, and that's as true today as it was before. But there's also work trying to, connect the dots, make it not that way. I don't know if it's going to succeed, but it's interesting that we're seeing, certain solutions doubling down on their specific sides and optimizing for their specific use cases. Other solutions kind of looking and going, can we get a best of all worlds? Is this possible? Maybe not. But yeah, I think a lot of the stuff that we've been seeing innovation the last little while has been kind of asking those questions, and we're still yet to see if we're going to accomplish it.
Yeah.
On the flip side of some of this, I think part of the reason that some frameworks became the jack of all trades approach is because a lot of companies don't want to invest in experts in multiple frameworks.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
Having to have people and support 2, 3, 4 frameworks is costly and kind of fractures your development team. So I think that demand made some frameworks move in a direction that was more all-encompassing.
Yeah, and I would encourage folks to, when you're trying out a framework, to go through the documentation about what the framework is intended to be used for, because it seems like a lot of, and I'm going to just harp on this again, single page application style frameworks really are designed for that use case. And yet when you go to their getting started documentation, it's how to build a blog. And it's very strange to see that sort of tension exist in their documentation up front. So yeah, know what you're getting into.
Okay, we have 42 seconds, so we did it pretty well. We did a very good job, y'all. So what's one thing that you're excited for in the future of the web? Just anything. Anything is fine. As long as you don't say NFTs.
Hybrid routing.
Nice.
Stealing whatever Ryan's working on.
All the collaboration between framework authors.
Web components.
I have no idea what you said.
Web components.
Next 3.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for having us. We can go. We're free now.